All right. All right, I guess we're ready to go. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I will accept a motion to approve the minutes of November 7, 2022.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Great, thank you. Appointments, recognitions, and resignations. Request approval of hiring Catherine Smith to the position of part-time administrative assistant at an initial rate of $24.08 to be increased to $25.42 upon successful completion of a 6-month probationary period. Said employment will commence on or about Tuesday, November 22nd.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to know if it's a part-time position, how many hours a week it is.
Usually 25.
The only addition I would say is that although it's not clear on the agenda, when reading the description, it makes it more clear. My first read of that is like, well, who's she administrative assistant to and where she
Well,
works?
that's the position Megan Lunt used to have.
Yeah, well, we didn't, that's fine, but I mean, anybody reading the agenda would not know that and start to wonder where they were working.
Yeah, it's so buried in the packet.
Yeah, okay.
Right, all in favor? Thank you. Request that full-time planning board member Christy Anastasia become an alternate member.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Request full-time planning board member Tracy Loftus Keller take Miss Anastasia's place as vice chair.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Consider appointment of Lauren Kufler to the warrant committee.
Move appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. And consider appointment of Alan Kimmerly to the harbor committee.
I don't know.
There he is.
I'll move it.
Second.
Any, all in favor? Thank you. That was fast. Consent agenda, department reports wastewater, investment committee meeting minutes of June 17, 2022. Shellfish committee meeting minutes of January 13, March 3rd, and April 21, 2022. Sustainability committee meeting minutes of June 16 and October 20, 2022. Thank you letter from Ellsworth Medical Clinic. Hancock County Commissioners meeting minutes of November 1, 2022. And item G, the last item during the November 9, 2022 special board of directors meeting, the municipal review committee reviewed and voted to accept an additional $150,000 non-refundable deposit and negotiated terms with Revere Capital Advisors Group that allows for an extension of a financial closing to November 30, 2022, which grants ownership of 95% of the shares of Municipal Waste Solutions LLC, the new identity of the Hampton Solid Waste Facility. Right.
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Can I ask quickly
Yep.
before we go forward, what is there, did I miss something? Why are we getting like a year's worth of minutes all of a sudden? I don't recall ever getting minutes before from these committees, and we just got,
That's why we're getting them now.
so did we, okay.
Yeah, so I'd like sustainability
Yeah,
met very sporadically over the
Right.
summer, so we'll get one from June, one from October.
okay,
Okay, so that covers the last 6 months. They're not, we haven't been up to date on a lot of our minutes,
like
For
the
these
production
committees.
of the minutes or the submission of the minutes?
submission of the minutes.
Okay,
So this is an attempt to catch us up.
Yeah, so they're not like going back to June and trying to figure out what everybody said. These
no, but, okay, so, but we're not gonna, like, the meeting that takes place in January 2023, are we gonna wait till November to get the minutes from that meeting?
Hopefully not.
Okay, that's the question I had.
Yeah.
Did we request, please send us your minutes?
We-
And
we-
say, oh, sorry, we haven't been, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any more discussion, any items that people want to take out? All in favor? Thank you. Selectmen's reports.
I didn't find anything on the agenda about there's been some back and forth with about the Luso committee and been questions of conflict of interest issues, and I just was surprised that it wasn't on the agenda for discussion.
And I did email that. That's all right.
Is that something we can take up next? I think this should be public
Yeah, I think so.
notice if we're gonna have a conversation like that, but
Yeah.
maybe at the next meeting.
Put it on.
Thank you.
And maybe we can get some granularity from Andy. You could have a conversation with him and figure out whether or not committees that don't make final approval.
Recommending
Yeah,
if there's a, how that works.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope it
because
works there.
based on what we saw.
And it is an
they don't make a
advisory board.
decision.
Right.
Okay,
Something else, so if we could bring up just, I know we asked a while back and we're told that there was gonna be some sort of open house scheduled and a sort of a launching of the Soamesville Fire Station. And I feel like, as we come into this, you know, the coming up on the new year and into budget season, it'd be good for us to make sure that we do a good PR job on, you know, unveiling that. And I'd like to see it myself, being a Soamesville resident, a select board.
Mhm.
So I wonder if we could follow up and find out some more about if that's on the plan. And I know Mike's got his hands full and lots going on, but
Mhm.
I think it's kind of important for us to.
And before we're all back in masks.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
right.
All right, anything else? Yeah, all in favor?
Well, there was no.
Oh, there was nothing, yeah, sorry.
We're in favor of you moving on. How about-
Unfinished business. Discussion of proposed marina landscaping plan with Ellie Andrews.
I know that, Andy Clark is up there.
Okay, and Ellie's right there.
Thursday and Ken is there as well.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good. Hey, Tammy.
Diagram, doesn't seem to be an easel, so I don't know where you want to.
Maybe put a chair and put it,
Yeah, we
prop
could
it
just
up.
stick it right there. Here we are again. We were here, on August 15th, and we were told to go to the harbor committee and present the plan. And, so we did on October 11th.
Why don't you- I'll hold it, I'll just hold it. I can hold it during.
October 11th, and now I'm here to follow up.
All right,
And just to let you know that the harbor committee approved the marina plan. And with some concerns. And some of the concerns were drainage and a berm right here that was going to be in the way of the farmers market. So in response to a recent article in the paper, I thought I would go over the positives again about this plan. The plan was developed in order to make the marina a more cohesive looking area. Residents, summer and winter, continually contact the town office and make requests to plant trees or benches in honor of a loved one. And in fact, I got a call about a month ago. Someone's dog died, and so they want to plant a tree. And this is, you know, someone quite well known in the town. And I said, you're just going to have to call me. The plan's not approved yet. You'll have to call the town and get on a waiting list. But anyway, the plan was paid for by the Garden Club of Mount Desert, and Bruce Riddell, a renowned landscape architect, did the plan. And if you haven't heard of him, he has also done the Charlotte Roads Butterfly Garden. He's done the Veterans Park. He's is very instrumental in the Coastal Maine Botanical Garden, not to mention the planting down here in between the Chamber of Commerce and the Harbor Masters building. So this is a plan that won't be done all at once. it's going to be self-funding. As people come up and want to donate money, it'll be done. The Garden Club has set aside some funds to get it started. Possibly the Summer Residents Association will too. It would be nice, I think, to get these trees planted along here as a start. It is so hot in the summer, as you all probably know, down here with the asphalt. And it would be really nice to have some shade. As for the drainage issue, the trees should take up a lot of the moisture. As for the berm, we can leave it out. And there was talk about this walkway right here. The plan was to get rid of it, but you can leave it. So you can, this is a plan that you could chip away at. Also, just as regarding the drainage, according to John Lemoyne, there is irrigation that's been put here. And it is important to have that diagram, because I think last summer, one of the heads broke. And that could have caused some of the moisture. At the Harbor Committee meeting, they were concerned because there wasn't access, because they do car shows. Well, honestly, I wouldn't put a bunch of cars in here, especially with all sorts of irrigation heads that you might get rid of. But anyway, the plan was designed by Bruce. And before we did the plan, we had all the electrical diagram done by the town. So you now have that, you have that. And that's why the design is on the periphery, not in the middle. And there is the space here, it's supposed to be kept for activities and free for people to do events. So anyway, that is pretty much that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening. If you have some questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. And I also wanted to just say that, why do we want to plant trees? Well, trees purify the air. They lower the air temperature. They prevent flooding. They sustain wildlife. And they improve the soil quality. So it's a win-win.
They're attractive.
And they're pretty to look at. So there we go. There you have it. So if there's any questions.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you. I have I know that there was some objection to the berm,
Yes.
and there was some objection to the removal of the walkway.
Yes.
But what were the arguments for putting the berm in and removing the walkway? Whereas, I mean, I'm not on either side of this
Yeah.
discussion,
Right.
but if
The berm-
somebody just says, I don't like the berm, and you say the berm can go,
Well, the
Well,
berm might be in the way of the farmer's market.
so that it was a legitimate and
It's a
reasonable,
it was a
okay.
legitimate
and-
concern.
Okay,
It was put in there because of the drainage. It would help, but you can.
All right.
You could leave it out. The walkway was taken out just to have the space, a bigger space
okay.
that wasn't broken up. But, and there were these big complaints about the drainage, and actually I would ask the Harbor Committee, when is the problem? Is it after rain? Is it in March when it, when the snow is melting? When is that problem? So
Did you want us to answer that?
If you want to answer it, sure.
Well, I said you wanted to ask how we're connected.
Sure, so go ahead.
Um,
When is the problem?
It's consistently a problem, and when we raised it at the harbor committee meeting when he presented. He said, you know, the architect Riddell said that there would be no problem with him to analyze the drainage, but that he was not aware that there was ever a problem. So now that we brought it to his attention, he said that he'd be very willing to address that.
Well, that's why you wanted to keep the walkway, because you said it was wet there.
It's wet over the entire area, it's a
Okay, well,
no problem.
I've never noticed that.
It's
But,
sinking, I mean, you'll go up to your ankles in there.
but when? All the time?
Most of the
Because
time it's wet.
I go down there and have lunch, and I have not been on, you know, the water has not been up to my ankles. I mean, there's been no water that I've noticed in the summer.
Well, it's consistently a problem.
So, I mean, have you noticed water? Has anyone else noticed water up to your ankles?
I've noticed it's damp sometimes. The only thing I've noticed is that it kind of sinks down.
Well,
And I was,
isn't it reclaimed land?
yes, it is.
Right,
So I wondered if in the course of all these improvements, if something could be done to put in some fit, I don't know.
I don't know, you know, I really,
Bruce Riddell said he was very willing to analyze the drainage and address that, and I think that's what needs to be done, so that we know, so we're not guessing.
Yeah.
okay.
That's a good
well,
idea.
that-
Yep.
What's your name? Donna Reeves, I'm on the harbor committee.
Go ahead.
I'm Jim Black on the Harbor Committee. We met with the guidance office in October. We were under the understanding that you're gonna revise your plan and come back to us. I didn't realize it was here, and I don't know what your next move on this, whether you're gonna approve it tonight or not. But I think they'd like to see this come back before our committee. But the area that we're talking about, that whole area, as you know, and Tony Smith has helped us with information on this, but we all know that was a fill area.
Right,
And it can be a problem. I think when you see excess water on that lawn area is any time that you have heavy rains over an extended period of time. And that's what creates flooding of the area. I'm not sure you can pinpoint it any time other than excess rain. I think the path across the center, we kind of felt that we're having a lot of parking issues with the farmers market. And the lady that enforces the parking there does a great job, but we're trying to encourage people that come to the farmers market to park over the other side, on the tennis court side, or over to back this way. Because everyone wants to park where they have a short walk to the marina, but I mean to the farmers market, but that's not working out. You know, human nature, you want to park as close as you can. So if we park them on the other side, or can encourage them to park on the other side, you'll take a straight line across to the farmers market. I mean, that's just human nature. And that's kind of how we feel about that path. There was discussion about tall trees, adding more tall trees. There's probably 7 or so down there now. We're kind of concerned about the neighbors and tall trees. And, you know, we have a marina where you can drive in there and see boats. If you have a lot of trees, you won't see boats, I guess, until you get to the waterfront. So there's some issues there, and obviously the burn with the farmers market. But I think with some discussion, I think the guidance book can do a great job, and he's present us with a very nice looking marina. The other concern, I guess, is that since we did the renovations, I would label the marina as the functionality of the marina is good. I think we did well, and everything works fine. So I would, myself personally, I would not like to see anything that would interrupt that flow. So I think there's still a few unanswered questions. And I'm hoping We'll come back to our committee. But it's in your hands here.
So what-
Yeah. My suspicion is, I think, as you said, this is gonna be, there's gonna be a lot of back and forth before we get something that everyone's happy with.
Okay, well, I can't keep coming back and forth. You can take it or leave it, you know, I mean, it was approved by you guys at the Harbor Committee. You know, once, if it gets approved, it's your plan. You can do what you want. You can figure, you know, you can fiddle around with the drainage, you can, you know, if that's what you want to do. The planting, as I say, does go around the perimeter. There's a lot of planting beside the tennis courts. So,
Ellie, can I,
oh, here's Tammy. Yeah,
I think that this plan was, it was requested by the town that maybe the garden club could help come up with a plan, which we have, and we've now brought it to you once before, taken it to the Harbor Committee, and it's now back before the to the selectmen. And I think that it's really up to the town. The garden club has no part in installing or following up with this. It's really a plan that we paid to have done, and it's really now on your desks, and it's up to you, to the town, to decide what they want to do with it. I think that the garden club has done their part in having the paid to have the plan made, and and it's really up to you guys to figure out what you want to do. And I think there are a lot of people who feel that there should be more trees down around the marina area for some of the reasons that Ellie cited. And it would be a good idea. Those trees will be small in the beginning, and when they grow taller, actually you'll have trunks and not leaves. So that I don't think that the view will be a problem. Except sort of in some of the early growing years. I don't think anybody's planning to put in a full-size maple tree. So that's kind of my opinion on it.
Mhm.
thank you, Tammy.
Yes,
I'm Troy Litchfield on the Harbor Committee. I think that our feeling was that it was a provisional approval, because there were a lot of things that we felt just weren't workable down at the marina. And as an example, he didn't know we had a farmer's market. You know, that was kind of a stunning revelation, because
He did know. I
He
told
told
him,
us
but
that
he
he didn't know.
just,
at the meeting, he told me.
maybe just didn't listen. And yeah, you know, he just,
In fact, he said he had no idea that there
Well,
was a farmer's market
well,
at the meeting. That's what he did.
Carolyn and you and I met with him and told him.
So the other thing is, I mean, I have a list of things that we had concerns about, and as Jim said, we thought this was going to come back to us. I think the purpose of that plot of grass is, it's a village green, and it's meant to be used by everyone in the village, for everyone in the village. And maybe there wasn't irrigation when there was a car show, but the car show was fun. There's been a craft show down there in the past, and you know, the July 4th or Memorial Day rather, you know, the trees around the edge really encumbers it. And, you know, I think there needs to be a lot of second or third looks at this to make sure it's appropriate for the town. One of the other things that came up with, I'm sorry, I don't know who that was speaking on the
Tanny.
Tanny.
when it was raised about the blocking of the view for the neighbors, what Bruce came up with, and was that the trees will block view in the future and that the town will need to give permission to the owners to prune the trees. And we thought that was at their expense, not the town's expense, but to get permission to actually trim the trees. And I thought that that was pretty unusual approach to the neighbor's block, view being blocked.
I was at the meeting and took some notes, and I recall some of these, the problems, especially with the burn, concerns about access and the drainage. I remember that that they said the neighbors are gonna get mad if the trees are in their view, and other people said, well, too bad for the neighbors, it's the trees are for everybody. But I don't recall this about
And I think
having
I-
to trim.
No, I
No,
didn't, I
that
watched the Zoom.
It doesn't
And I don't,
ring a bell with
I
me.
don't, I don't.
I think I would have written that down.
I don't recall that. Tammy, do you recall that in the meeting? About having the neighbors trim the tree?
No, I don't remember anything about trimming the trees.
You could watch the Zoom again, it's there for sure. I was shocked when I.
They're gonna have to be limbed up anyway. I mean, you can't just, there is gonna be maintenance.
But there's no way, I mean, just from my 2 cents, the landscape architect might have thought that citizens other than the town could come in and prune trees on town land, but that,
He said that
isn't
they
going to
get
happen.
Permission from the
Well, I
town,
mean,
that the town would have granted
no,
it.
yeah, I don't, I mean, if the trees are on town, if there are trees and they're on town land, it would be the town's responsibility to maintain the trees.
Right, which
and-
raises the next question, is the expense of
Anyway.
maintaining it.
Well, they're gonna
John, we had out
That's
that
a long way down the road.
to maintain what's already been done. And a concern was the cost of maintaining this type of a plan could be rather costly to the town people.
I think one of the, my understanding was that part of the plan was to look for trees and bushes and so on that would not require a lot of maintenance.
Well, they're native, but, you know, any plants are gonna need, you know, I mean, eventually trees are gonna need to be cut. I mean, you know, what breath and snap on, I mean, there is gonna have to be something, but these are native, they're hardy, so.
I mean, I appreciate all of your efforts. I totally appreciate the Harbor Committee's thoughts and ideas, and I kind of feel like if they would like it to come to our table, then it's time now to take this and maybe sit back down with the Harbor Committee and maybe the landscape architect and address some concerns. I mean, some of those concerns are really important concerns, and yes, it's gonna take time for leaves, but I just paid a lot of money to have some leaves raked, and
Yeah.
that worries, you know, it's a beautiful area now. I love the green, I love the openness, you know, and a few things to start and see.
Chip away at it.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like I feel like the Harbor Committee's opinion is really important because you guys are the ones that, you know, I spend a lot of time at that harbor, but you guys are the ones that are dedicated to that area, and I respect that as well. So I think you've done an amazing job. There's a lot of great information, and we should accept that graciously and then continue the discussions.
Yeah, Jeff.
Can I just also, I seem to recall that the impetus for requesting this was based on our not having a set policy or protocol for people that want to donate a bench or memorial.
That's correct.
And it wasn't just at the green, it was also at Pond's
Pond's
End
End.
and other town properties. And I really appreciate the comment about that we have a well-functioning marina now, and if I could put words in the gentleman's mouth, it would be, you know, his advice would be to proceed with caution for sure. And I think that's what you're saying as well. So I would echo that, but I think we also need to keep, as far as, and I want to keep my eye on the ball on why we're doing this, because we have a person that's waited a year to be told what kind of a bench or if they could put one in. That's kind of why we wanted to do this to begin with. Was to make sure we were ready to respond to people and have some sort of a protocol that doesn't involve, you know, who they are.
Mhm.
Well, and
And
having stuff go in willy-nilly,
They're right, exactly. So we had some sort of a menu of options.
right? Right.
And, no, you may not, install a 16-foot aluminum sculpture, but here's a
Right.
bench if you'd like to choose from
Yeah.
this, and these are the locations we can still use
Use an
benches.
area, for planting or a tree or
Mhm.
by the tennis courts, the hydrangea or whatever.
It does seem to me that the garden club has tried to address the main
Right.
concerns that came up, which was the path, the drainage, the berm.
Yeah, if you don't like it, then
Yeah.
that's fine. Just leave those out. If
Yeah,
you
we would
want
like to
a
see a
revised
plan,
plan,
not the
then I guess the
agenda.
harbor committee, I would ask the harbor committee to pay for it and they contact landscape architect. I mean,
That would be reasonable.
We have
Mhm.
laid out a lot of
They-
money and we're not gonna have it
No.
rewritten. I just think if you want it revised,
Further. It's been revised already.
yeah, I mean, we can say
Yeah.
verbally. Don't want the berm, you can take the plan and do what you want with it.
Did he address the drainage in the?
That's,
revision?
well, that was what I was gonna just mention, is that I think what I hear you saying is that if the harbor committee or the board of selectmen wants a study of the drainage, for instance, done by this or some other landscape architect, that we're not asking you and your organization to pay for that. I think that's reasonable. What you're saying is we've done our part, we've contributed our part. I think that all sounds fair.
Right.
But so that I think if there's more studying to be done and more looks to be done, I think it would be off of your plate, so to speak, unless somebody in your organization wanted to contribute to the discussion be there. I think that's a reasonable request. Personally.
Some institutions like the Y or, towns have pavers and things or tiles, the Y have the tiles. So, there are going to be many more people that want to be remembered thoughtfully. And you just can't do it. And so maybe you can set something up where there's a paver that's engraved and someone can say Fluffy, or whatever. And those pavers can go around town or something, for $1,000 or whatever. And that money could go towards the upkeep in the town. But I mean, personally, I think that green is fine. It's not the Booth Bay Botanical Gardens, and I think that's fine.
And I haven't had a chance, I read the minutes, but I'd love to listen. So I'd also like the opportunity just to hear the harbor committee minutes and not that, I'm sure.
So what do we do from here?
Okay, well. First of all, I'd like to thank the garden.
Yeah.
Club. It's a lot of work and it looks like a great plan. I wish I could say I'm an expert on berms and drainage, but I'm not, so. I don't know, maybe there's a lot of blue marine clay under there and it's holding the water. I don't know, or irrigating an area that's wet
I
and all
do
the
think
time.
that when you plant the trees, I think
Yeah.
it will help the drainage
Yeah.
problem. It's not like it's being planted in the,
Wet part.
in the center where there's a bunch of water. Also, the Bruce Riddell just sent a letter from, as a pro, from a person who's on sabbatical here, and he was absolutely thrilled with the plan. So, so everybody has their different opinion, and I totally get it, and you guys can do what you want. Take it or leave it, it's fine. And so maybe you just need to discuss it more with the harbor committee, or I don't know.
Well, you certainly have provided us with a vessel from which we may fish.
took up, more of your time. So I don't know what you want to do. Whether you want to table it and think about it or vote on it or,
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna vote on anything tonight.
okay,
That wouldn't seem sensible.
No.
yeah, okay.
Maybe, I think that probably the Harbor Committee wants to take another look at it. And then that does
Maybe
with their recommendations.
We could actually meet with them and talk
Does
about
that
it.
sound right?
That would be helpful because there is significant.
Yeah.
concern.
And I would think
Do you
having,
want that? Joel, do you already have a plan or?
Maybe we should hang on to that.
if you don't mind, we could hang on to that and then maybe invite that landscape architect to that meeting as well, and we can have to pay it.
Thanks, Ellie.
Oh, going over non.
Yeah.
All right, Ellie, thank you so much. Thanks, Tanny. All right, item B, consider the purchase of a new 2022 Ram 5500 dump truck equipped with plow equipment. From Darling's Ram located in Ellsworth at a final price of $124,796. After receiving $7,500 for the trade-in allowance of our 2013 Ram 5500.
So do we move the consideration? Or move the purchase? I would move the
We
purchase of
move
the
the
new
purchase,
2022
yeah.
Ram as described in item B.
Yes, thank you.
Second.
Good.
May I ask?
Yeah.
I was reading just to clarify. The truck that's going by the wayside that won't pass inspection is a 2013.
Correct.
And it's like the same truck. It's a 5500. 2013 Ram 5500, and it's only got 80,000 miles on it. So I'm not blaming her. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the fact that we pay $135,000 for it, or $130,000+ for a truck that won't go 100,000 miles.
Correct. The engine itself would go, but the environment
Yeah.
that it lives in with the salt and all that, even though cleaning it consistently does help. It's like
So-
our big trucks. They will never see 100,000.
Really?
Either. No,
So-
no.
10 years would be pushing it. And
Yeah,
So
10 years they should.
10,000 plus a year per truck. Wow.
Mhm.
That's what I was reading, and I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah.
You should,
All right.
The engine would go.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not about the mileage.
No,
it's
I
about-
understood. That's what I thought, but I just wanted clarity from.
if you wanna,
somebody
if
that
you wanna
knows
be
about it.
horrified, you should see the numbers for fire trucks.
Yeah, well, I know.
And plowing is not easy. Either.
No, I'm sure it isn't. I just was kind of like, wow,
Yeah.
it's the same truck and we're only getting 7,500 for something. We're paying 132 and. Yeah, that's sad, but thank you.
Okay,
It's moved
all
inside.
in favor?
Thank you.
Certainly.
I
Thank
know, you could buy it from them and put it in your yard.
Oh, yeah, that would go over really well.
Yeah,
The engine is good.
Maybe I could have that be my.
Plow truck.
No, I'm not gonna touch that. Thank you, though, appreciate the suggestion, John.
yeah. Okay, and item C, authorize Ben Jacobs, Highway Superintendent, to make the purchase with funds from a Public Works Equipment Reserve account number 4050100-24500, which has a balance of $234,377.60.
Move authorization.
Second,
And all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
New business. Consideration of the request made by residents of the Pattersonville subdivision located off Route 102 in Stonesville. That the town of Mount Desert consider assuming ownership of the road and sewer system that serves their subdivision at the May 2023 town meeting. Tony,
Yes, thank you. This is very similar to what we did with Farnham's Way and Sydney's Way in 2018.
did we really assume responsibility for all those private sewers?
No, just the public sewers in the street. We're only responsible for the sewer mains, not the connections to the homes.
and I'm not familiar with Sydney's Way, but I know that Farnham's Way as a special quality in that it's affordable housing. I don't know how many houses are served by and how much lineal feet are we talking about on Patterson Hill, or is it something we just do because it?
Now, there's a,
That was, yeah, we only have 4 houses, it's a mile-long
No.
road, and
No.
I was less inclined to say, sure.
Tony, go ahead.
there's a road acceptance ordinance that allows people in that situation to ask the town to accept the road as a public road. There's at least 20 homes up in there that I'm aware of. I can't remember the exact 1,800 feet, but it's a long ways away from 4 homes on a mile of road. The subdivision was built in 2006. So the one way I look at it is the folks have been paying their taxes ahead to get the road plowed and the sewer system taken care of if it ever needs it. It's right in line with what we are allowed to do at the request of taxpayers.
Yeah,
I have a question.
go ahead, Rick.
Tony,
Yes,
is that system new enough so that it won't require a video survey of that line before we decide to accept it?
in my opinion, yes. Ben and his crew, Ed Montague, have gone up through there. They've opened every manhole, looked down in. And the way you can tell that the sewer line is okay is you go upstream, look at the flow through a manhole, go down and see if it's a relatively equal flow, or there's no surging, like there's a backup, overflows, whatever's plugging it, and it flows down through. There are going to have to be some improvements made to the manholes, which can be made above ground, minimal digging. That would be in the warrant articles for the sewer, acceptance of the sewer, such as shall the voters accept the sewer subject to the following. X, Y, and Z. Yep. But again, this is in line with what we are allowed to do. And there may be another one coming for May 2023 town meeting I found out about today.
And these roads, Tony, these are new subdivisions, and these roads were all built to town specifications.
This
Were they not?
Patterson Way, yes, Derlin, you're exactly right. Yes. And quite frankly, that road, Patterson Way, now is 16 years old, and it's in great shape, and it's probably got better subgrade under the pavement than some of our roads do. And I've dug in a lot of the roads.
That pretty much answers my question. I was gonna ask if there are other specifications that we have when we accept a road. Is it the width and the?
Yes. Yes.
condition of the road?
The road acceptance ordinance references the subdivision ordinance requirements for design and construction of a road. Width of travel lanes, shoulders, a turnaround, either a T like is in Farnham's and Sydney's Way, or a cul-de-sac like there is at Patterson Way, things of that nature. You're exactly right, Martha. Yes,
Thanks, Tony.
you're welcome.
Just one line, I know you, Tony, you said that it's well within the lines of what we're allowed to do. I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around the road acceptance ordinance. Under what circumstances would we say no? Or is
If it was, oh, sorry, Rick. If it was full of potholes, severe cracking, a lot of washouts on the side of the road that have been repaired, that there are not 8-foot travel lanes and 3-foot shoulders, that the slope from the crown to the shoulder is too steep or too flat, and the water doesn't run off the road to the ditches. I'm trying to think of one of our roads that we've been working on lately. I can reference to you.
No, it's okay.
Yep.
I understand what you're saying, I guess, and I don't want to be a curmudgeon, but I guess I'm trying to figure out, what is the reason, what is the impetus of the town? Why do we want the road? I mean, not this particular, but just this, but what's our, I know we're allowed to accept it, but.
Well, not you folks, town meeting is, you would, there's a
Right.
road ordinance in place that allow voters that live and taxpayers that live in subdivisions that someone has built to town specifications or not specifications, which we would find out during a review of the road. One reason, and Patterson Hill Road, and Ben was telling me this today, they do a great job maintaining the road, particularly in the wintertime. But one reason we would want a road not is to make sure emergency vehicles can get down it.
Okay. All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right,
I would move that the select board accept the request made by the residents of Patterson Hill subdivision for inclusion in the 2023 warrant to be presented to the voters.
I would second that.
great. All in favor? Thank you.
I will let them know and thank you.
All right. MDES Buildings and Grounds Improvements.
Brian, here.
Hello, I'm Brian Hinkle. I think I'm most of you.
Yeah.
I'm the chair of the Mount Desert Elementary School Committee, and we're moving forward with some work at the school. Last time we had any kind of significant upgrade at the school was a couple of decades ago. We are about to pay off the last payment on our debt that we accrued from that. And we thought it was about time that we looked at the facilities that we have and look to see where we need to make some additional improvements. We had a couple of years back an architect come in and go through the building and look at areas where we needed improvements, windows, insulation in the building, some areas to address at the roof. Additionally, we have a very old storage building that's being used, and it's pretty undersized and not really capable of doing what we needed to do. And so we're going to move forward with this project and look to make some improvements, because it's about the right timing, right? Since we've kind of moved through the last round of funding that we did. And since we were doing that, we were looking adjacent to the area, the school and the basketball court and the pool are part of the town's property. And we thought it would make sense if we combined our efforts a little bit. If we're going to hire a consultant and an architectural firm to do this, then if the town is interested, they could join with that, and we could save a little bit of expense and do that property development and improvements all kind of collaboratively. So basically just requesting the town approve that process going forward. I'm not quite sure exactly how you want to word it and who we would work with. But I'm just hoping we get the concurrence that it's, you know, something that you want to do and move forward together, since we're working on a project at the school.
So my first reaction to that is that there isn't enough granularity in here to be able to have an opinion one way or another. So it would be nice to know what the scope of the project is, what you're thinking, besides fixing the basketball court and pool and storage building.
Yeah, and I wish I would have been coming to you just a little bit earlier, but for various reasons, I wasn't able to get to the process steps that we're at right now. So it is vague. I understand that. And I do wish there was a little more granularity. What I would like to do first and foremost is, once we've gone through that selection process, is to go through a little bit more of the scope of services. Really what primarily the town's role would be on the basketball courts and the pool. And what we could do initially is simply develop that granularity that you're interested in. That would be the first priority that we do with that consultant. And then we can come back additionally and decide how we further move with respect to this work. But yes, I understand that.
My question is, long before the town gets involved in cooperative projects, it has more to do with the process. This isn't what was put in the budget for last year. Would this proposal be developed and then put in the budget and then put it towards town meeting on the warrant article? Because I mean, I have some serious concerns about our budget in this town, and with the high school talking about a major addition and the Mount Desert Elementary School in not in dire shape at all. I have real concerns about suddenly deciding, because we paid off the last payment, it's time to build a new addition. And I was really surprised when this first came through. And actually, when it first came through to me was when I read it in the newspaper that there was a request for quotes in the public. So I'm very concerned that we're going to get some serious blowback from our residents. We just did a huge firehouse project and taxes went up a lot for a lot of people. And to have this, to hear you, I mean, maybe I'm out of turn, but to hear you say we are going to move forward with this project really concerns me a lot, because we're tasked with handing that bill to our residents. And I worry about that, about the cost. I mean, if I pay off my house, I'm not gonna build an addition that year.
Yeah, addition is probably not the right word for the purpose of what we're talking about. There is a building right now that's a relatively poor condition building that needs to be.
Right, that was talked about last year.
Yeah.
That and the sheds are certainly.
And that, this is part of the process step that we're going through is
Okay.
the first thing that we did was put a little bit of money in the budget just to procure some architectural services so we could figure
Okay.
out the first phase of planning. Next year is essentially the second year of planning processes. So that's essentially what I'm interested in, is having a participation with the town, but it's just planning process at this point. We may do some work on the building as part of the replacement. I think we can move forward a little bit more quickly with that one. But the payment that we're making this year, that we made this year for the previous bonding that we did, is in our minds, as we're going through our budgeting process, sort of the limits of what we're anticipating spending on an annual basis on anything that we're doing here. So we're not anticipating that we would change taxes from the school budget standpoint.
Well,
It
you
would be
wouldn't
the
give
same
them a
amount. So
break
there's
for
about
having paid off.
$250,000 that we're paying.
Right.
Now, which we don't have that payment next year, and so that's the anticipated amount that we would want to put towards this the following year. I think after that, right, and so it would be,
That's my-
it would be a continuation of the same.
Well, it's not. It's a starting up of something that looks a lot like the old. I don't want to argue, but
Okay.
it's not a continuation of a budget line item that was designed to pay off a bond from before. And in your notes, it says it was last renovated in 1999. Maybe that was when they first approved the plan, but they were finished that in 2003. My children and your children and your children were all in that building. That's where you're.
Which is the pool in 2018.
I'm not talking about the pool. I'm talking about the school.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
And I don't know. I just, I'm really taken aback.
And I just, too, not fully knowing, like, there's still a lot of discussions about an island-wide middle school. And I know that there are some strong points for that and against that. And I just, like Jeff, I feel like I live in this town and, I support the school and the fire and everybody else, but the timing of this is just, it's a lot. And I mean, I think obviously this shed that you speak of, I know exactly what you mean, and absolutely, something needs to be done with that, but that just feels big right now where we are in our little town for budget issues.
Well, we just have to see what we're gonna come up with.
Thank you.
But I will say I appreciate what you put together. Like
Mhm.
this is very helpful. It's good to hear what you're thinking of and what your ideas are, and like the scope, it might, like you say, you might be saying, okay, and this year we really just need this much. And then is this a 5-year plan or an 8-year plan or whatever? So.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
I think Tony had his hand up.
Tony,
I just want to add that I do know the trustees are well aware of, I think all the Bar Harbor, Tremont and Town of Mount Desert are considering improvements to their schools. So the trustees are well aware of those projects relative to the high school.
okay. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Harbor Committee requests consideration of adjusting the transient and seasonal summer dockage rates of marina for vessels less than 49 feet to $3.30 per foot. The rate for vessels 50 to 60 feet to $3.80 per foot, and the rate for vessels 60 feet to 99 feet to $4.30 a foot.
John is on.
John,
Good evening.
Hi.
So the Harbor Committee reviews summer rates every winter, and with everything that's going on in the world and the prices of everything going up, they saw it prudent to do about a 10% increase on our rates. It's about 25 cents overall. I did a review of all the neighboring marinas in our area. It will still keep the town of Mount Desert below our competing neighbors. Overall, I think it's a good thing. And, you know, with electricity and everything else going up, which one of the next things you're going to read is also electricity. I think we're in line and keeping pace below Southwest Harbor, which is truly our biggest competitor.
I would move approval of
Mhm.
C.
Second,
Ready? All in favor? Great, thanks, John. Harbor Committee requests consideration of adjusting marina charges for daily power rates to $17 for 30 amp, $28 for 50 amp, and $50 for 100 amp per day for summer electricity starting May 15, 2023.
I would move approval of that as well.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Harbor Committee requests consideration of adjusting the summer daily mooring rentals to $30 for a 200 series mooring rental.
What is it now?
It's $25. It's the same price as a 1 for a 100. The 200s have been increasingly higher in demand over the years. They use the launch boat a lot. And it just seemed like a modest $5 increase would help cover some cost to the launch boat. And I think it's, you know, it's been at least 15 years that I'm aware of that I've been at the marina that that mooring has been a $25 rental.
Is 30 enough?
I think so, yes. So it's $40 a night for a 30 and up to 50 feet. And it jumps to $55 for anything over 50 feet. I think it's adequate.
It's pretty good with
Move approval.
It's
Second.
enough for now.
what's that?
It's enough for now.
Yeah, okay. So we had a motion and a second.
I didn't hear the second.
I think that's
Wendy.
Think so.
Rick?
Yes,
Pick me.
I second that.
Thank
That's
you.
good. All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, item F, consideration of hosting a rabies clinic for town of Mount Desert residents and their dogs on Saturday morning, December 10th, in conjunction with town clerk's office to register dogs for 2023 calendar year. You can't make this up. You really can't.
Move approval.
Second,
Good. All in favor?
if you want to do the
Wait
work.
a minute, wait a minute. I got a
What?
question.
Oh, okay.
Question.
I have some questions.
All right, I got a
gonna
question.
say, what about-
The discounted rate of $10 dog, they're paying that, right?
Okay, so yes, unless we can find a sponsor.
Or they can find a spot.
Well, a lot of times towns offer free rabies clinics
Right,
because
that's
somebody
yeah.
will sponsor the shot.
Okay,
But if we don't have a sponsor, whether, you know, the town, the chamber, or a business, or somebody that's willing to, I don't know, pony up like $500 or whatever to cover the shot.
So is this a vaccination?
Yes.
Okay. Does it
Yes.
work in people? Does it
Yeah,
work in
I
people?
don't know.
Well, I was thinking, you know, hey, that's great, you know, other vaccinations you can do. I got shingles, I got rabies. So,
And,
and she's giving her services for free.
right, right.
So the dog owner just pays $10 and they get it. Yeah.
And then hopefully they come down the hall and get their dogs registered. So it's supposed to be a
Yeah.
win-win that we get these dogs registered, because a lot of times people don't register their dogs because they can't get a appointment with their vet to get the rabies shot.
Oh, I see.
So this is supposed to be a win-win. Keep the dogs
Okay.
healthy, get them registered. The animal control officer then has the list of, you know, who the dogs are in town.
Katrina,
So every year the town seems to get money. Remember, we raise that money and we give it to some veterinary place in Ellsworth. do they have enough money? Would they like to kick that back to sponsor this clinic?
We can call them. I would suspect that, they haven't budgeted to do anything like that in the current budget, but, you know, we could say going forward, would somebody like to sponsor that?
Is that the organization that helps with the
Yes.
feral cats and like, is that money or is it
No,
different?
I think it's the SPCA, you know, who, it's the animal shelter.
Okay,
And I know that they work pretty heavily off of donations, so I don't know that they would have the funding to.
But
sponsor.
we only spend like $500 a year, don't we, or something, some modest amount for
For,
the. that's worth-
yeah, whatever they
Yeah.
request.
No, that's not, I'm not talking about the third party request.
No.
No,
I'm talking, because I know when I called the organization that receives the money that's in the line item, not in the third party request, and asked them how they use their money, they hadn't used some of that money for years, and yet we kept sending it and sending it, so I just.
Yeah, what we do now, we get a contract, for the animal control. There's a contract, an annual contract. And so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they do with.
so this isn't a third party request, it's a
No.
line item in the budget
Line
that's,
and we do it every year, and
Okay,
it's a pretty small amount.
okay.
is this gonna make a lot of extra work for you guys though, or?
We will, well, yes and no. We will have to give up a Saturday to come in and work. They will get overtime. I will not, but it's getting these dogs registered, which we would do during our normal
Business
business
hours.
anyway, so it might be less traffic at some point, but the whole point is to get
Get it
these
done,
dogs
yeah.
Right.
legal and
Get
to
ahead
keep
of it.
everybody healthy,
Yeah.
not just the dogs,
Yeah.
but whoever might get nipped.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to try if
Sure.
everybody's willing to do the work.
Right,
Yeah.
we don't know how big this is gonna be. We might get 10 dogs.
Right.
We might get 50 dogs. We don't know.
Okay,
Okay,
all in favor?
One other question, and thank you. Logistically, would we be willing to let the dogs come in inclement weather, let the dogs come into the meeting room, get their shot and go down the hall? Or, I mean, I don't know if we have a really wet, rainy day.
I think that would be, as long as it's safe, they're not mean, grumpy.
Rabid.
for the owners.
When are they proposing to do this?
Saturday, December 10th, in the morning, probably, we thought maybe the first year we'd start from 9 to 11. And just like voting, if you're in line by the time 11 comes, we're not gonna say, look, too bad.
Mhm.
So you don't call for an appointment, you show up between 9 and 11, and that's typically
Mhm.
how those are done.
Would you allow people from out of the town, Mountain Desert, to get their
No.
dogs?
No. This is for town of Mount Desert residents. This is the first time we're doing it and we want to start
It
small.
used to happen years ago.
Well,
It's been a while.
it's not been for the last 15 plus years, so,
I can remember bringing your dog.
Yeah. yeah, we're starting small, see how it goes.
I think that's
I think it's good.
a nice little
Yeah.
service.
I think it's small, but it means something to people.
Yes, it's a good idea. It's not good people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get some reg- we get-
And I did talk to the vet and she is gonna contact Bar Harbor to see if Liz Briggs wants to do a clinic as well. So each town can do their own clinic.
Mhm,
Great.
Okay,
Good.
thank you very much.
mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, move signatures of an MOU with the town of Bar Harbor regarding ambulance billing services.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
This is
Thank you.
very well done.
Yep. Review and consider proposed changes to the town's longevity policy as described, is this, wait a minute. Okay. The town's longevity policy is described in memo from Finance Director Jake Wright.
Every year we go over. If we get into the budget, season, we go over and we look at our compatibility of two things that we are most charged with in the town of Mount Desert to maintain the town's services that are at a reasonable level, and that is recruitment and retention. I think the area that this year we wanted to focus on was the retention. As you read in that particular memo, our longevity policy currently is, it was in place at the same amount as when I arrived. And so if somebody stays in the town officer for 4 years, they get 25 cents an hour on top of their normal salary, which is $520. If they stay 4 years, they get 40 cents, which is $820. And if they stay 15 years, they get 50 cents, which is $1,040. Not really much of an incentive, I think, to stay. What I'm proposing, and Jake will go over the finance part of it, because we get him on it today, is that we encourage people to stay long-term. In other words, when somebody's been with us 10 to 15 years, we've got an institutional knowledge, which is almost priceless when you have to start with somebody from zero. We're highly competitive labor market, and we're also running into shortages of people that are willing to come down here. I call what I'm trying to do is a commuter incentive. If you can't afford to live here, we're expecting you're going to have to drive here. So people that are coming now, there are no really too many affordable communities within an hour's drive of us now. Our former safety valves of Lemoyne, Trenton, et cetera, are no longer affordable either. So we're going further and further out. So there's a couple, and then there's another couple of reasons to do that. Last year, when we had the hyperinflation of 8%, we gave a 3% raise. I'm maintaining, I'd like to keep that 3% raise in effect this year, but I would like to compensate it by adding this longevity, which goes year to year to year, and it's spelled out as you go. So by the time somebody is incented to stay here 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. So I think that's a good interim step. Last year, I think, Dave, you've got the numbers in front of me, so I don't want to, I'll let you handle that part of it because you got them and you made up that table. So why don't you take it from here, what that would mean?
Sure.
I'm gonna share.
Let me see if I can share my screen.
There you go.
All right, does that look good to everyone?
Yeah.
So this is the basic proposal that we're talking about. Essentially, starting after 1 year of completion, 2.5% longevity, increasing by 0.5% every year until you get to 15 years where it bumps up 2, and that was to compensate for the proposed amendment of instead of moving someone from 95% to 100% of the salary grade at year 15 or after year 15, we would remain at that 95%, which creates some administrative ease. And then we would bump up the longevity differential to account for that change. And then the other difference is that instead of capping, accounting for added value year over year at 15 years, Derlin advocated that we step it out to 20. And so you see that it goes by 0.5% every year. And then from year 19 to 20 bumps up another 2% and then stops at 15%. And that's 15% on top of the 95% of our salary grade, which to put into context, the salary grade was established back in 2017 as being, 100% wouldn't be what surrounding comparable areas were paying for similar positions. Now, the degree to which that is still true today is affected by our ability to keep up perfectly with inflation. As Derlin mentioned, the salary grade, at least in one example last year, got behind a little bit in inflation. So that's kind of a mitigating factor to be aware of. And so in a basic budget analysis, I would approach this by going into it with the understanding that essentially what Derlin just mentioned was that on the 7/1/2022, increases, we kind of created a 5% underwater in terms of real buying power for non-union employees. And so this longevity amendment is an attempt to address inflation that still exists, targeting employees with the highest level of institutional knowledge in a package that is going to have, I would say, pretty minimal effect on the budget when you compare it to what we're already planning on doing. If we just follow the personnel procedures that are currently in place. So in terms of bottom line, what you're talking about, this area over here is applicable to the proposed change. This is if there were no changes. So you can see that across all new non-union employees, and the numbers on this are a little bit on the conservative side because we are assuming that we're going to budget for the highest level of service that someone's going to be at, even though most people are going to have that change be affected somewhere within the fiscal year. But the difference is about $115,000, and to put that into, and then once you account for an estimate of increased taxes and retirement contributions and such, you're talking about a 0.62% increase on the budget that can be directly tied to this policy change.
One of the other things I wanted to point out, okay, can you bring that highlighted section over a little bit?
Sure.
So you can see it. We did another analysis this year on doing comparable salaries within departments. So we wanted to have the positions be comparable within the various departments. We broke it up into administration, public works, et cetera, fire, police, and whatever. So those positions that have yellow are those that have been adjusted. And some of those positions were adjusted half a grade, and some of the positions were upgraded to 1 grade. So you can go through those and see where those are. So that was another part of our analysis this year. So we think it's a pretty reasonable proposal, which keeps us in the position where we are going to be able to do retention. And I think we also be in a very strong position to continue to do recruitment.
I think, Darrell, it's also important to point out, having been through the 2017 and going with 25 cents as opposed to a percentage, using a percentage tends to level the playing field for, in this town anyway, we have non-union and union employees, and it's a very delicate balance to maintain. And when you put in 25 cents within a year, that's gone. You know, and now the union is running away with a higher salary, and the non-union is, well, I got my 25 cents. But if they get a percentage rather than a particular percentage amount.
That was also agreed, because as you know, that original 25 cents was put in prior to 2010.
Right.
The purchasing power of $520 in 2000 or whatever compared to 2022 was quite a difference. So this is an attempt to keep up with that. So again, these are the salary grades that up there. Okay, do you want to walk into
Why is
that?
there this gap here?
It's after 15 years.
Oh, after 15, so the
After
switch
15 years,
is.
they stay for
I see, they're still doing that. That's right. I see.
So some people know, when you go through that, when you get through the initial budget, you'll see that there won't be an equal amount of people getting the same amount, because some people with a longer longevity, that increases, they're going to be at the higher point on the scale. So Jake, I think we figured out, it came out overall to about, if you took it across the non-union employees, it averages out to about 5%. Is that correct? 4.85%, something like that.
Yeah, prior to consideration of the 3% CPI adjustment, 5.21%. is going to be the average adjustment. So that would be applicable to the longevity. Overall average is going to be 8.21%, which was disclosed in the memo. And again, I think that's accounted for in the sense that, you know, the underwater that was created with the last adjustments, the inflationary underwater that's expected for 7/1/23, and a way to more accurately apportion the compensation for the additional value that's provided year over year. Because right now, if we all agree that the 25 cents an hour or whatever has been basically, rendered very more and more, I guess, hollow with time and inflation, then really the only adjustment non-union employees are looking forward to, and where they get really compensated for their time and the institutional knowledge that they've established, is by waiting 15 years. And that seems like a long time to ask someone to hold on when, we want to incentivize people to stay from year 7 to 10. That adds a lot of value, even if they never get to year 15.
Yeah. I think
Makes
it's,
sense.
I think it's a plan that will put us in a lot stronger position than we currently are.
And it sounds very reasonable. I do want to just point out, I was the lead negotiator for the Teachers Association contract negotiations a few years back. And one of the things that does arise if and when this kind of a plan goes forward is that highly qualified people with 6 years work right next to highly qualified people with 12 years, and they get a much smaller raise
Yes, they do.
when the year comes.
Absolutely, yeah,
And that's just as it's important from my perspective that communication goes, so people understand why,
Right.
that added value, if that added value can be justified, and I think it can, that should be made clear, because otherwise it doesn't seem fair.
I want that Dixie person to become that. 12.
Well, yes, exactly.
Exactly.
So they need to understand that, and that's all I would suggest.
Well, we
because-
now have a professional resource officer.
Because attraction and retention is the game of the game.
But I think it's a good plan. I've worked on this for quite a while. I've been thinking about it and being very concerned about recruitment and retention. And I want, we're at the end of the line. People don't drive through here. They have to want to come down to see us. So I want them to take a look at us. And I think we're in a position where if they take a look and they come with us, they can look out there and see where they're going to be. And you see that there is an incentive to go from year 2 to year 3, year 3 to year 4.
Can I ask another question? Have you thought at all about people coming from exactly the same position in another town? Do they start at year 0, or is there?
No, we can negotiate where they would actually come in.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so
what's
they
the
would
step
not
there?
necessarily step, if
That would
somebody
be.
came in a comparable job in 5 years, we'd be wanting to put them probably at that 5-year scale, because that way they would want to come down to see us. So,
That's right.
and we've done that in the past, so that's nothing new, only this formalizes it
Yeah.
a bit more. So,
Jake, I want to compliment you as usual. Your memo was excellent. It's very thorough and clear and easy to read. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So what we're going to ask you to be doing is to vote the personnel policy changes that will allow us to institute that, because this is different than our current policy.
Like at the next
Uh,
meeting.
On that, in my memo, I think I had mentioned that this was to discuss whether or not you guys like the policy, the approach, and then I could bring back specific amendments. If you guys want to go that route, I'm happy to do it. We could also follow what Derlin just said, which is that, we could be authorized to amend the personnel policy to accomplish these ends. It's kind of whatever you guys want to see.
Whatever you want to do.
Why don't you bring it back?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that we'd like to see the whole thing put together.
You want to vote on that or no? We don't need one.
They don't need, we'll just give us instructions to bring it back.
Okay, thanks, Jake. That's excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item I, authorize GF Johnson and Associates on behalf of the town of Mount Desert to solicit bids to repair approximately 200 lineal feet of erosion caused by a strong storm surge in 2020 to the Seal Harbor Beach shoreline.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Great. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a couple of questions for Ben, I guess. Not knowing, where the town stand or public entities stand. I know a private entity wanting to do this would have to get permits from DEP, from Corps of Engineers. When I just put in a floating dock, I had to get approval from 4 Indian tribes, the Historical Society, Corps of Engineers. I mean, the list went on and on, DEP, CEO, the planning board, all of that stuff. I don't know if political entities are exempt from doing that, but I would suggest that we're probably going to need DEP approval at least.
We had permits, but they
Oh.
expired.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of telling you do. It's gonna.
Yeah, I just didn't see anything in the
Right.
memo. So I figured, well, I better ask before we get into a mess.
Right, no problem.
So, thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Any other business?
The oil,
Did we talk about the oil?
the oil.
Oh, oil.
Yes, I'm going to do that on the oil. I apologize for not being able to give you a couple of weeks notice on that, but that just came in this afternoon. And if we want to lock that in, I'd like to call it tomorrow. If we wait 2 weeks, that price will not be valid any longer. I think that's about as good as we're going to get. Right now, we're paying rack and whatever. And what is the highest we paid so far for gallons, remember?
I think it was like 535. 535. Yeah.
So I'd like to avoid that. And again, the oil prices market is unpredictable.
It is, which would lead me to think, and I mean, help me understand this, the rack today is 376, but we pay 6 cents more than rack.
Yes.
Regardless of what the rack does. If it goes back to $5, we're paying
Yes,
506.
exactly.
So what is the advantage then to not fixing the price at 385.9?
Because if the rack goes down to 350, then we'd be paying 350 plus.
Right.
So.
And is that, do we, I mean, I know nobody knows for sure, but honestly, are we thinking that it's gonna drop below?
We don't.
I can't see it happening personally. I would
Not over
go,
the next
I
year.
would go with a fixed price myself.
Well, that's up to you. If you want to go with fixed price, and go with fixed price.
That's a pretty good fixed price
That's
too,
a very
considering
good
what you're
fixed price,
thinking
considering
about.
$5 a while ago. I don't know. I mean, it's good to compare at the end of the year, but I think we do run a risk of paying a little more than we had to. But on the other end of the coin, we run the risk of paying a lot more than 387.
That's up to you. I'm giving you the price.
Does this guarantee the amount of oil too? Because there's been talk about like actual shortages, so that doesn't guarantee
No.
3,000 gallons.
It's based on
20,000.
Yeah,
Is that a motion?
Can I? I'll make a motion that we go with the no frills at 385.9 fixed. Personally, that would be my motion.
I would second that.
yeah. Any further discussion? I happen to agree. Okay, all in favor? Good.
Good thinking.
Yeah, I-
Gamble out of it.
thank-
It does. If I'm wrong, you can bill me.
No.
You won't. Hey, get that into minutes. I said you can bill me. I didn't say I was gonna pay.
Oh, all right.
Oh, sorry, we got more to do.
Treasurer's warrants. That's a good part. It'll be exciting. Really exciting part of the evening. Approvals and signatures for the treasurer's warrant, town invoices AP 2331 and AP 2333 in the amount of $1,359,779.38.
Move approval and signature.
Second,
All in favor? Okay, approved signed treasurer's payroll, state fees and payroll benefit warrants as shown, AP 2330, AP 2332, and town payroll PR 2311 in the amount of $189,770.91.
move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
One
One
abstention.
abstention. Acknowledgement of treasurer's town voided disbursements and school board AP payroll. School invoices, school payroll PR 10 in the and voided disbursements V 2303 for a net of $97,880.60.
Move approval and signature.
A second,
Good, all in favor?
that was a move acknowledgement.
Move acknowledgement, sorry.
Yeah.
That's why I lost it.
Sorry,
Move to adjourn,
so moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Do you in favor to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes, good.
Attention, friends. Wendy's favorite fast.
Yeah.
You said that now, I just forgot.
So this first one is
We're an automatic.
is the funding request policy that you guys approved on the 17th of October. But they weren't.
Can I see the
signed,
picture?
and when I was looking at other policies, I know that.
Hey, is that gonna be a
I
issue to change funding?
Hey, Derlin.
Aren't thrilled about it.
So it's not like you have to change the tank or whatever. Okay, that, yeah, okay, that would be different.
Yeah.
Derlin, the meeting's still going.
Oh, still recording.
Derlin.
Stop recording.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Thank you.